Moms of Reddit, what is a wild secret of your past that your kids rather not know about? My mom told my siblings and me on Easter when I was 14 that she used to be a child for the Yakuza. She told us because my sister was going to tell us because she felt like my mom had stolen her daughter and was using it as a bargaining chip. My cousin came to live with us across the country because my mom was in jail for drug abuse. My mom once told me while she was tipsy that my dad was actually her high school teacher and they began a relationship when she was his student at the age of 16. She said they would often have with her in school uniform. They managed to keep everything under wraps for years and they got married when she graduated from college and gave birth to me a few years later. It's kind of shocking how common this is. One girl I graduated with immediately and openly began dating her math teacher as soon as she graduated. They're married now, few kids, and seem genuinely happy. On the other hand, another teacher, science teacher, guy taught all the AP science classes, left his wife when he knocked up a senior cheerleader. Ended up marrying the cheerleader once she graduated. They stayed married for 6 years when he cheated on her with another student. Apparently, the irony was lost on the former cheerleader. A Spanish teacher, guy in his late 20s, used to be uncomfortably close with his female students. He would invite students to his home for dinner and extra studying. Apparently, they were just smoking weed and he was trying to hook up. How do I know this? He invited my then girlfriend to one of these parties with 3 or 4 other girls. They went, but left and felt really dirty when he pulled out the weed and tried to get them to smoke. She never smoked weed and had no desire, so she just excused herself. She told me a few days later she also said she couldn't tell on him to the administration because her friends liked going and didn't want to be a rat. So this was an open secret in the school. In fact, it became a running joke that if girls went to his house, they'd automatically get A's. This dude continued to have a job for another decade before he was fired. Everyone knew what he was doing, but none of the girls who went ever came forward, out of enjoying their parties or out of peer pressure. And the administration couldn't act on rumors and innuendo. And this was all in some small town in Bumble whatever middle America. Our photojournalism teacher picked a girl every year. He was attractive, sure, but he had a wife and kids. Freshman year, I got adopted by a senior girl. She got nipples pierced for this guy. He would also lend out school equipment to do illegal activities, i.e. breaking into haunted buildings in our state that you could get arrested for sneaking into. This sounds like Michigan. A girl in my junior year, circa 08, decided to do her entire photography portfolio as nudes for the teacher. Very tasteful and artistic nudes, but still nudes. Not only did he get to keep the nude portfolio, but he also made her redo the entire assignment and hand that one in as well. Choke on a pesos, chocas. Not sure how wild this is, but right before I was born, like 2 or 3 days beforehand, my dad's older cousin had a daughter born severely unhealthy. She wasn't stillborn, but she wasn't going to make it past a few days. So anyway, after I was born, my dad's aunt came into the delivery room and said to my mom, "You two are young, you'll have plenty of time to have another child, but my daughter can't. Let me buy this baby off of you." I only found out about this when I was 15 because my sister told me. Apparently, my parents never planned on telling me this. My in-laws keep doing this shite with my 1-year-old. She lost a boy when she was 6 months pregnant 6 years ago. They tried fertility treatments and whatnot. She didn't get pregnant again. This wasn't the first lost either. They had lost a boy who died of SIDS at 6 months old 20 years ago. When my son was born, they offered to buy him from me. This continues till this day. I'm actually scared of them calling CPS on me for having a child with autism who can't control his emotions. CPS worker here agreed, document everything, including that your son has autism and that they want to buy him. And do not bite your child. I mean, the paragraph goes on to explain it, and it actually makes plenty of sense, but and do you not bite your child no matter what I did. This ended up making complete sense with the rest of the paragraph, but wow, what a way to jump in. Thank you, Marpaki, thank you. Growing up, my mother was a titan. She graduated top of her class in PharmD and chaired several major drug regulation boards. She was always very serious about school, and we were told that BS was absolutely unacceptable because she was a straight A student all through college. We took that to heart until I was cleaning out the attic a few years ago when I discovered some old grade reports from college, and guess who got a C in sociology and another one in linear algebra? Tough take, Mom. Tough take. I'm the dad in this situation, but my wife used to be severely addicted to opiates, which I helped her get out of by moving the family to a new town and letting her spend 2 weeks in bed dealing with withdrawals, while I handled every other aspect of the house, including finding work and setting up the kids for school, etc. I just told the kids she was sick and needed to sleep, which wasn't entirely false. It was super emotionally taxing, but I would do it again in a heartbeat because it worked and she's been clean for 2 years. When my wife let it slip around her mom that she was having a lot of lesbian urges, her mom mom just waved it off and said, been there, done that, didn't like it. I just learned that I was likely conceived on Easter when my mom wore a, and I quote, crotchless lace onesie and I quote, teased my dad all night. And then I was born 9 months later. FML indeed. Hey, at least there's some passion there. I was conceived during a hurricane because no TV. My friend was an obnoxious little brother and would frequently pester his older brother by yelling, "You were an accident! Mom and Dad went to a ski resort to make me." You should thank me. I'm awesome enough for them to make the mistake of thinking a second kid was a good idea. Back in the 90s, I flew to Canada and spent the weekend with a guy I'd been talking to in a chat room. In 97, I met a girl online. We both flew to London from Wisconsin and Singapore to spend 2 weeks together. Married in 01, still married 18 years later. Smile. Holy frick. I also met a girl online in 97 and married her in 01. But she was a cheating ho for digging, and we divorced a year later. That came out of nowhere. I grew weed legally when I did my straight-laced father, went on a long speech about growing techniques and tips. About 2/3 through, he kind of stopped and stared at me and my brother and adds the amendum. So I've heard. I've heard ETA is edited something. The E stands for edited. That means estimated time of arrival, though. So estimated time of arrival. Through it all, my mom was shooting daggers at him. My mom used to date a drug lord in Birmingham, but was practically his crack haw. She had my brother, and to get away from it all, she joined the military. Dude ended up going to prison at the same time and was stabbed to death just a few weeks in. My mother didn't tell us or my brother until he was around 35-ish. I met my son's dad through a post he made on the casual encounter section of Craigslist. Our families think we met at a sports bar. Estimated time of arrival? I didn't get pregnant from a one-time thing or a NASA situation. We were together for 6 years. I know it doesn't actually say NASA. Shut up. I was a flasher when I was a preteen living in Italy. Went through a phase, I guess. Name checks out. I would also prefer they didn't know about all the raunchy shite their future stepdaddy and I do behind closed doors. Once again, username checks out. Like 11 or 12? Username checking out is not doing you any favors. I was a drug dealer, weed and pills, worked 2 legit jobs along with the game just to afford my 1-bedroom apartment. The bigger crime is probably the 2 jobs isn't enough to afford a single bedroom apartment in some places. That is insane. But, take into account in no particular order, insurance, health, car, and renters, your cell phone, your internet, your food, your toiletries, your off-site laundry, fuel, utilities. It's so much more than just rent. But yeah, dealing paid my rent, and 2 other jobs covered everything else. Breathing is the most expensive habit, honestly. I'm addicted to breathing. How do I stop? Have you tried diving underwater?
You're making me pay you to stand at the cash register? What is the meaning of this? Have you gone off the deep end?
During Vietnam War era, my mom had a pretty serious boyfriend and he got drafted and she dumped him for my dad. My grandma did the same thing for her boyfriend in World War II. He was a prisoner of war, too. She preferred guys who weren't captured. Make relationships great again. Daughter of a mother with a wild secret. My dad was abusive, an extreme alcoholic, and hit her regularly, so she kicked him in the balls so hard that he couldn't have kids. After me, obviously. He's dead now. Drunk driving. Took 4 people with him. My aunt got tipsy and told me everything. When my girlfriend, now wife, and I were first together, she was gone all summer, came back to town, and we got it on. However, it was also noon, and the windows were, open. And she's a screamer. We stopped in the middle because she saw some light dancing around on the ceiling. Looked down and a cop was shining a light in. Luckily, he let us off with a warning to close the mirrors. However, due to her height, he did have to ask her for her ID to verify that she was old enough. 22. My kids probably never need to know that. Hey man, I've watched a lot of midget. Not once did the cop joining in ask for ID. I used to be an escort. If being an escort doesn't make me a member of the PTA, nothing will. I'm almost afraid to ask what an Azteca swirl is. How much of my teens I spent high. But now weed's socially acceptable in most cases. That's not even a thing. I'm disappointed. It's almost fun in a way to have something to shock your kids with. My own mom is really vanilla and is very old school. Bet she's probably hiding the fact she runs a swingers club or something. You can tell your kids, hey, I smoked it before it was legal. Just found out last year that my mom got pregnant in college. The guy split as soon as he found out and never saw him again. She decided to have the baby, avoided going home when she was showing, and gave it up for adoption. My grandparents never knew, dying a few years ago, and I found out due to an Ancestry.com DNA test. My half-brother contacted me and we pieced it together. She was relieved that it all came out in the end. It had to be weighing on her all these years. I mean, she's in her 70s. And I'm 40 now, and the new half-brother's 52 or something. Needless to say, it was a huge surprise. I never in a million years would have guessed at that. My mom's now best friend was drugged and at a party by an unknown assailant in college in the 60s. She was sent away to have a kid and immediately put him for adoption. She used a fake name for herself and even gave a fake birth date for the child. She never told anyone. The son was able to find her through Ancestry DNA last year and connect with her. She also explained the circumstances surrounding his conception and birth. The crazy thing is that before the son found her, he found the dad the exact same way. This was before the son knew about the truth, though. The dad just played it off like it was some kind of scam and told him to never contact him again. This will get buried, and this story is from my dad. When I was about 19 and visiting home from college, my dad and I stayed up getting pissed drunk. When I told him about my love for psychedelics, he clapped and said, "I knew it." I asked why, and he stated that, "Your mom was the acid queen, and we learned she was pregnant with you when she was 4 months in. We were tripping for your first couple of months." When I graduated college, my mom casually dropped the fact that she, a tiny little Asian woman, used to deal large quantities of marijuana when she was in high school and once had to skip a basketball game because she accidentally took a duffel bag full of weed to school instead of her gym bag. I know someone who did the same. So I guess that's how she paid for your college education. I wish. Nah, she just made me work my arse off until I earned scholarships. That's a good parent. It is our current situation, but we are swingers. Username checks out. My mom was a crazy native child that started smoking at 10. Smoke or choke, as my grandma put it. Sold single cigarettes in elementary school, once burned down a patch of forest because she was playing with fire with her friends, smoked her brother's weed and drank with her dad, and ran away from home at 19. Now she scolds me and my sis for swearing in front of her. Is this one of those threads where OP is just trying to source wank material for his MILF kink? No, not at all. Sweats milfully. Milfully. Can we get that added to the Urban Dictionary? I tried, but it was rejected by them. The dude actually tried. Jesus Christ, Reddit. Mommy was one of those in college. Just FYI, my mom told me that she was one of those. Not in so many words, in a lot more words. I mean, she has so many stories involving old boyfriends that it became pretty obvious. So don't think you can't ever tell them. Did you tell those stories like Ted Mosby? How I Met Your Mother commences telling season after season of how I porked anyone but your mom. Most of my life before I met her father, I sold drugs to pay my way through college and almost married the dude I sold for. That's not even the worst thing. Seriously, you're gonna clickbait your own comments? 5 will shock you, while number 6 will be no surprise at all. I'm a dad, not a mom, but I know what my wife's answer would be. How much she likes anal. How would that ever come up in conversation with your kids? Now, little Timmy, that argument you heard between your father and I last night, where your mommy yelled, "Flare my shite right up, I dare you." Well, let me explain why that wasn't spousal abuse. My friends and I used to break into buildings for fun when I was in high school. We never got caught, and we also never stole anything. Lame. But I was still super dangerous and also just freaking creepy on our parts. I was a sugar baby in college, made a lot of money, but blew it all on dumb stuff. Also, my best friend from college and my roommate had the same sugar daddy. My kids call her Aunt. They love her and she loves to babysit. My roommate and I had a lot of with each other. It was enjoyable, but mostly due to our daddy. He obviously found it hot. I was also submissive to both of them. Mommy did some nasty things. I was talking to my mom about finding jobs and she told me all sorts of things she did for jobs, including working as a waitress at a strip club. I had an ex who told me she worked as a strip club waitress. Maybe she did, but she also stripped. My girlfriend works at Hooters in the kitchen. Oh, that's hot, you know, as kitchens are known to be.